For being a BBC presenter, Jeremy Vine earns at least twice what Boris Johnson gets as Prime Minister. Being of an envious disposition, this rather sticks in my craw, not because I don't think Mr Vine isn't a perfectly capable broadcaster, he's obviously much liked, but because he's symptomatic of a bigger problem. The problem starts with a number, £159.
If you don't have a TV licence, it won't take us long to find you.
That's the annual fee the BBC demands from me and you, the licence fee payers, and it does so with menaces. Refuse to pay and you're potentially in quite a lot of bother with the law.
The biggest broadcaster doesn't have to compete. The BBC has laws that protect its income and a mandatory licence fee if you own a television. Is the way that news has been done before, all these structures, these systems, is that really fit for purpose now, especially as we have many more platforms and people have so much more access to what they choose to watch?
Look, I think the current licence fee structure is obviously not fit for purpose in the decade that we've now entered.
You don't manage to pay us some money, you might not be able to manage to walk.
We're looking to get 28 licence sales per week from each officer. As soon as you hit that magic 28, there's a bonus, a commission scheme that comes into line with that. You can only get the sale with a conviction statement. So basically you've got to take 28 conviction statements before you can start hitting extra money.
If you don't have a licence, they'll know just where to look for you. And when you're caught, you can now be fined up to £400.
If you don't like what I say tonight, you can turn me off. You can switch off Jeremy Vine too, but you'll still have to pay for the licence fee. This is morally unsustainable.
If you're watching TV without a licence, the net is closing in.
First tonight, fresh allegations that TV icon Sir Jimmy Savile abused young girls during his career have emerged today.
Well, the report says Savile was a prolific predatory sex offender who could have been prosecuted for his offences against at least 3 victims while he was alive. And this is 2 separate reports are saying this today.
It's being described as the worst crisis to hit the BBC in 50 years. Tonight's panorama into the Jimmy Savile scandal hears from the 2 Newsnight journalists whose dropped investigation is at the centre of allegations of a BBC cover-up.
The story we were investigating was very clear-cut. It was about Jimmy Savile being a paedophile and abusing his position, using his status as a charity fundraiser and television personality to get access to places where there were vulnerable teenage girls who he would abuse.
We weren't asked to find more evidence or anything like that. We weren't asked to get more people on camera. We were told to stop working on the story. I was very surprised at this. I argued, as did Liz McKean, with our editor. We had meetings together, we had individual meetings with him, and the argument went on for some time.
During their arguments, Liz McKean says she was left with the clear impression that Peter Rippon was feeling under pressure, possibly from senior bosses, about the impact of the investigation or the planned Christmas tribute programme to Jimmy Savile.
I was sure the story would come out one way or another, and that if it did, the BBC would be accused of cover-up.
Not pay my TV licence? That's preposterous. Animal Hospital with Rolf Harris is worth the money on its own.
Went to the BBC as an executive in the late 80s, about 1987. I was aware of the rumours about Jimmy Savile. I was also aware of rumours about other people.
When you first came across Savile, you were 17, 18?
18, yeah, and that thing went on that I told you about, and because we just...
Well, I think you can tell me about it on air. Why not? I mean...
Can't. I don't think I can. I think that's gross. Anyway, something went on, as I said during the show to you. He said, come and see these, they're only 12 years old. And never mind, you kind of ignore it. You're new to things, you've just got into the system. You don't want...
You're a teenager yourself.
Yes, and to be honest then, to 15-year-olds or 12. It didn't seem as gross as it does now, obviously.
The fact that in 1978, at the height of the Sex Pistols explosion, there you are saying about Jimmy Savile, he was into all kinds of seediness that we all knew about. We weren't allowed to talk about it. I know some rumours. So you had heard the kind of thing that we now know about him, or stuff like that?
Yeah. But I'm very, very bitter that the likes of Savile and the rest of them were allowed to continue.
Not having a TV licence is a criminal offence. Our computer has the address of everyone in the country, so it's only a matter of time before we catch up with you.
It was an iconic, explosive and unforgettable interview.
Well, there were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded.
But Princess Diana was deceived into giving it. And more than 25 years on, the way in which this whole affair was handled has left the BBC in crisis once again. Mr. Bashir showed him fake bank statements, falsely suggesting people close to Princess Diana were being paid to spy on her in order to secure an interview. Today, an independent investigation by retired Judge Lord Dyson found
Mr. Bashir deceived and induced him to arrange a meeting with Princess Diana. By gaining access to Princess Diana in this way, Mr. Bashir was able to persuade her to agree to give the interview.
In memos previously seen by Sky News, it was clear the BBC knew that Martin Bashir had fake documents, and Lord Hall had spoken to him about it. An interview that Dyson describes as woefully ineffective. The investigation, he said, did not achieve its purpose of getting to the bottom of what Mr. Bashir had done or why he'd done it. Even a note from an internal meeting said the Diana story is probably now dead unless Spencer talks. Anne Sloman, then acting head of Weekly Current Affairs, admitted to Lord Dyson that it sounds a bit like the mafia, but it wasn't meant that way, I promise you.
It employs a great many brilliant journalists, but it's founded on a myth that impartial news can be derived from a consensus drawn from a small group of like-minded people.
This week, in an interview with the Radio Times, the Veteran Today presenter John Humphreys claimed that the broadly liberal BBC hadn't been sufficiently sceptical in the past on the issues of Europe and immigration. Many of our correspondents agree with him.
A Ramallah-based BBC digital reporter being investigated today by the UK public broadcaster after it was revealed she had posted "Hitler was right" on her Twitter page. The tweet is from 7 years ago, recently unearthed by Israeli organization Honest Reporting. In the tweet, journalist Tala Halawa also said Israel's more Nazi than Hitler was.
The existing broadcasters, if there's a problem that they identify in Britain, and boy, are they good at finding problems. Sometimes problems don't even exist, but they're good at finding them. They come from a point of view which has 2 suppositions in it. One is if it's a problem, it needs the government to resolve it. And secondly, if the government's to resolve it, it will need more money. So more government, more money. In some cases, that may well be the way to resolve it, but not in every case. The Today programme had this clever idea of debating, is big government here to stay? Good subject. Except that all 4 people that were on that discussion believed in big government.
Get a TV licence. It's cheaper than a big fine.
A poll tax to fund one station made absolute sense when there was only one station. In 1922, very difficult to argue with it. Even by 1955, by the time there were commercial alternatives, it was becoming difficult to justify in theory. Now, in an age of streaming, of Netflix, of Amazon Prime and YouTube, it has become unsustainable.
Where's your license, Mr. Brady?
From Jeremy Vine to Doctor Who, the BBC learns to survive by winning and keeping customers like the rest of us, not by extending a statutory hand every year into our wallets.
Nothing can put out God's light.
The BBC may try it, but they can't put out God's light.
Thank you.